So how's your time entry going? Are you ever having to backfill your timesheet by looking at your calendar and emails and Teams messages to try to remember what you did this morning, yesterday, last week, last month? I was on a time entry workshop recently with Todd Kane from Evolved Management. He's got some actually great training around operations, timesheet, technician training, all these sorts of things. I'm going to put a link to his website and social profiles in the description below. And a result from a survey he did recently is a majority of MSPs and technicians know that time entry is important, but it's still a challenge. Even when they're on top of it, it's still a stressor. There's a lot of challenges. There's disruptions, there's distractions, processes are complicated, they're changing. Sometimes we've got to do a lot of things in a 20-minute period, and we're like, how do we track it? The phone rings, there's a lot of clicks and fields in the PSA. There's a lot of barriers in the way of making it easy. And in this environment, timesheet stress and anxiety is a real thing. I've been there as well, being behind years ago. In my MSP, we've had people quit over this. Stress leaves, anxiety, mental health, get just a lot of pressure around staying on budget, but also getting the time in. And yet time is money in our business. It's the lifeblood of our company. Even with fixed price agreements and projects, we need to know where the time is going, like which projects are we under the water on? Which client agreements which clients do we have to ask for more money from because we're putting too much time in their agreement? So yeah, we've made MSP or big improvements on that in our MSP and in TopLeft, the product as well, and to make it easier for everyone. And we're using it internally and benefiting from it, and many clients are benefiting from it as well. So the key thing is to hitting it from multiple angles. It's not just a tool. You got to set clear expectations. You got to have the tools, the process, the mindset, and the company culture of making this easy, that it's important. It's got to get done, and working together. So I got 6 solutions today. 6 fingers. Number 1, set focus blocks to reduce inputs. So setting time in your day of you're not going to get distracted by email, Slack, Teams, phone calls, colleagues, meetings, the quick question stuff, the knock on the door. Just having a block of time, even 2 hours, 3 hours to work on your projects, your tickets, to get them cleaned up and done. Having the do not disturb on all your inputs. To be able to say no and to work through your list. And rotate this, of course. Everyone gets a turn to be in the zone. So important for our mental health and feeling like we're getting something done and being productive. So that's number 1, focus blocks. Number 2, visualize the work. It's hard to say no often because we don't know what's all going on our list. And obviously TopLeft and the Kanban view really helps with that. I'm gonna have a book recommendation for you as well at the end of the video, so hang on for that around visualizing work. Obviously with TopLeft, you can visualize it different ways. So you got the familiar Kanban layout, columns like Trello or Microsoft Planner. You can do swim lanes, you can control what's on the card, all these things. Customize it for what your team needs, what your engineers need. It doesn't have to be exactly what we recommend or what you've seen in the screenshot. Have discussion around who owns what in the column. So in the completed column, who owns that? Well, I guess it might be a service manager who's got to go through and close those completed tickets, which you could do in here by hitting the option and then going close ticket. Who owns your waiting column? Whose job is it to follow up? Is it the technician who owns the ticket, or is it a dispatcher, coordinator, manager person? Can other people follow up on waiting tickets? It doesn't have to be the assigned people. Who owns the ready column? That could be a dispatcher, it could be a service manager. Maybe it's the team does it together in a daily huddle or a weekly huddle. Who triages the new tickets? Is it self-dispatch? Is there a manager doing it? Are you taking turns every day? Just be really clear on who's doing it so nothing is left to chance. So visualizing the work. By visualizing the chaos, you and your team can make the right decision. Once you see it the right way, you know, like, oh yeah, this has to be done. This ticket has to be closed. Here's the one thing left. Number 3, minimize that work in progress. Multitasking is a myth. There's a book for that as well. Go read it. It's a very small, short one. Highly recommend it. There's so much waste and overburden because we take on too much. Things started, not done. They're waiting for a bit more documentation, feedback from a client, somebody else to review it, waiting on all these things. But there's a mental overload on it, And then an actual time, you can measure it as your meetings take longer because instead of going looking at 3 things, you're looking at 30 and trying to decide what's important. So if you can minimize what's on deck in each of these stages in your pipelines, huge difference. Makes your time entry easier because you're just working on 1 or 2 things. You do it as you go along and you're not fritter-fratting, jumping between all these things. Number 4 is just make it easier to jump between tickets. Embrace the fact that for some people, especially in a help desk, they're going to be jumping between multiple things, and it can be okay. Sometimes you're waiting for Windows to reinstall on a laptop or something to download. No problem to go grab another ticket. So make it easy to track that time and put the notes in without losing quality. So with TopLeft, you can do that with timers. So when you move tickets between columns, it'll ask you to start that timer, or you can go and hit the start time on any card here. So for example, I'll resume this timer here. On Google's, it is inaccessible, timer's running. I can go to another card, start the timer. There it is. With the button on top, I can go and find all my cards with active timers. I might have a timer going on a waiting card. And we can toggle between that one as well. Once you're done, hit the record. And you can finalize your time entry. So here's Google's is inaccessible. We can say troubleshooting, ping test, trace route, check the firewall, check who's it going to go to. And oh wait, just as I'm finishing my time entry, I get a call from a client. Well, no problem. I can just save what I'm doing. It's not totally saved here yet to the PSA, but I can just back out. Let's go start a ticket for the new client, for the call I got, start making the notes. Sheila can't print checks, so can't print. Let's pick the client. And the board help desk in progress. Well, not really emergency, but it is quick response. She gets an error when she's printing. So let's save this new ticket. It will bring it up right away in the edit dialog. And I can start my timer here if I like, update my agreement, anything else I want. I can put in my initial description, took the call. Let's save that. I think it's 1 hour. Again, all those optional fields, but right away I can start putting in my notes and my time entry. And it's all saved. Back to the PSA, got my ticket number. I could click the button to view it in ConnectWise in this case, or an Autotask if you're using Autotask. All done. And now I can go back to my other card and finish that time entry. My notes are still there. So I'm going to go and submit the time entry. So it's not on the left side here. Click submit. I messed up my time format. Let's go submit. And there it is. Time entry's in. So I can easily jump between multiple tickets. I'm using I can click on the card. I can go and use those options. I can hit the button underneath for time, dispatch, or files for the attachments, as well as I can hit the letter T to bring up the time window. Jump right to that. Put it in, save, escape, back to the main Kanban. So that's making it easy to enter time. Working the flow, work the rank, top to bottom. Top left would be the new work coming in, but work is going out the bottom right. Number 5, focus on throughput, not time. We want our tickets flowing, so focus more on getting tickets done overall, ticket counts, rather than the hours put in. So just example, on a highway, typically transportation ministries are looking at how many vehicles per hour are going. On a ferry, you're looking at passengers. On a ski lift, you're looking at passengers per hour, not what they weigh or how tall they are. So focus on throughput. Start something. Don't put it back on the list. Don't start something else. Finish it if you can at all. Everything will move quicker. It's great. It's math there. Number 6, incremental improvement on time tracking specifically, but also flow overall. That 1% every day, if you do that every work day, you got 200 improvements across the year. You've doubled the throughput. And that's a minimum. And so with our completed ticket challenge process, we actually work with clients over 3 weeks to get their tickets done in sometimes over half the time they were previously by setting up their boards, visualizing it, running the daily huddles, running all these practices. So to recap, 6 things: set your focus blocks to protect your time and your focus, less inputs, use do not disturb, disable the toaster notifications, all those things. Number 2, visualize the work. Number 3, minimize the work in progress, so there's less things to put time on and there's less waste. One thing at a time. Number 4, make it easier to jump between tickets. Set some good processes, smart defaults, embrace the reality. Keep your data in the PSA so people are not using notebooks. Number 5, focus on throughput, getting things done. Complete before starting. Number 6, incremental improvement. This is evolution over revolution. It's not an overnight thing, but it's day over day. Keep improving our mindset and how we work the tickets. Call to action. Highly recommend the Making Work Visible book. I will link it in the show notes below. Check those out. Check out the links for Todd's resources as well. If you're not a customer, definitely check out our other videos on our YouTube channel, on the website, in the resources section, and definitely our client panel recordings where you can hear from other client project managers, service managers, technicians using TopLeft and how it's transformed their business. And you're welcome to book a demo with any questions, pricing, or the product.